Thank you, Chairwoman Kroger, Chairwoman Weinstein, and members of the legislature. My name is Michael Powers, and I'm the president of NYSCOPBA, the Correctional Officers PBA. I have three issues I'd like to discuss real quick here, one being the prison closures, two, the double bunking within our correctional facilities, and some staffing and resource and training curriculums that we're looking at. First and foremost, we take great exception to the governor's proposal to close more prisons. He's looking to do it within a mere 90 days. Many of the legislators here may recall legislation that passed some time ago through us, with your assistance, allowed for a one-year closure bill to be put in place. That allows, as a closure, if a closure were to occur, that gives us the opportunity, and my members, the opportunity to make the proper adjustments with their families, their communities, their schools, their children, and whatnot as we go forward. You see that with these prison closures that are coming, one of the biggest issues that we have regarding that boils down into the double bunking. We have 10,500 empty beds amongst the state correctional facilities. 6,265 of those beds are top racks, or top bunks. Bring those bunks down, give our staff a better opportunity to operate in a safer environment, supervising less inmates, allowing the disbursement inmates throughout the system, and therefore there would be no need for closure of any facility. You'll still have empty beds available to be able to have in emergency circumstances, and that would allow for a smoother transition, not only for the staff that work it, the hardworking members of NYSCOPBA, and the civilian staff that work within it, but also amongst the inmate population. We have a large rise in violence in our facility. The acting commissioner spoke of it earlier. Unfortunately, with a smaller inmate population, which he mentioned, 3,200 we lost in the last year. We had 1,033 assaults on staff last year. 1,215 inmate assaults on staff. Close to 4,000 cases of contraband coming into our facilities. Many issues were talked about up here, the secure vendor program, the double bunking issue, a lot of the safety concerns that we have, the rise in violence in our facilities. All these topics are very, very serious topics that need to be looked at and addressed. We understand there may be legislation that's looking to investigate the rise in violence in our facilities. We support that legislation. We want to work with the legislature to see what is the cause of this. Is it drug related? Is it contraband related? Is it territorial related? I apologize. So with the prison population may be shrinking, but the concentration of dangerous inmates within the population is increasing. In spite of the changes, the inmate population, the policy of double bunking in a medium security facility is not warranted anymore. With the changes from the NYCLU settlement and the SHU regulations of last year, with the legislature passed along with the governor, with those, everything is being relayed back into the general population. The need to bring down the double bunking to stop the inhumane practicing of putting two grown adults through the rehabilitation process kind of circumvents the rehabilitation process when you're putting two grown adults into the size of a space smaller than a parking space. That's the reality. Take that away, allow the disbursement, the true rehabilitation process to take place to bring about the changes that are necessary to bring about the rehabilitation process, to create a better environment. I'm confident that if the double bunks and the double bunking policy were to come down and be eliminated, that may decrease some of the violence and contraband coming into our facilities. It just creates for a dangerous environment. Resources, staffing, and training. I've spoke with the chair of the Senate Committee on Crime and Corrections, Senator Sepulveda. We spoke about training in one of his meetings. He supports additional training. I, as a 30-year employee of the Department of Corrections, receive 40 hours of annual training. I've been receiving that training since 1990. The department's changed vastly in the last 30 years. There's more to do. Our resources are tapped. We don't have the staff. We don't have the training, and we are in dire need of it. In 2014, the department entered into a memorandum of understanding for staffing reviews. We were allotted a certain amount of staffing to be adhered to, and in 2017, I am still awaiting 192 security items for our correctional facilities. Now he
Thank
wants to
you.
shutter prisons.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for waiting. I know it's been a long day. I've been here since 9:30 myself, so I have a couple of questions for Mr. Powers, President Powers. I enjoy a good working relationship with your union. As you know, we've been working on a number of issues. One thing, we don't agree on every issue, but you always have my ear, and I always listen to what you propose, and hopefully we can agree on more issues than disagree. I am going to make a push to end double bunking this year, especially in light of the two closures last year and potentially anticipated closings this year. I think it makes more of a need to end double bunking once and for all, and I think it's something that's good for the incarcerated individuals as well as the correction officers. So I think it's a win-win. I know there was some pushback last year, but I'm hoping to put it on an agenda of my committee and get it done this year. And I hope you'll actively support us on that. And one thing I want to ask you, I know you mentioned the contraband issue and the safety issue. It was a 2-year process, but we passed a bill for local jails. It's particularly important at Rikers Island to get body scanners that were used as opposed to the magnetometers that they used to use at Rikers Island. And that's eliminated a lot of contraband, a lot of ceramic weapons that have come in that weren't detected by the magnetometer. Do you think it makes sense to have some of these body scanners in state facilities?
Absolutely. We encourage more technology, and not necessarily some of the same technology that, more of the technology that we already have, but our brothers and sisters down in the New York City Department of Corrections have the body scanners, and they're quite effective. I know that they're costly. I know that, and we have a large state agency here, but you made a very good point regarding the ceramic type weapons that are coming into our system quite frequently. We're seizing them quite often, and these body scanners prevent a lot of contraband from coming in and out of the facilities. Along with the secure vendor package program would be a great program to have as well.
Okay, when Commissioner Nucci was here this morning, I think it was this morning, yeah, it seems like a long time ago, we asked him about the double bunking, and he seemed to say that there were very few double bunkings left at this point. And you seem to have indicated there are more. Can you give us an accurate count of which facilities in particular have double bunking and how many, double bunking, how much double bunking is there?
They primarily exist in our medium correctional facilities. We have some in the max, as the acting commissioner testified to, but the legislation, the very legislation you're speaking of, speaks more towards the dormitory type settings of our medium correctional facilities. So I would, I can get you the total number of top beds, but well, actually 6,265. So that was the number I gave you early. So no, that's not accurate either. I apologize. But
sounded good.
That's the. I can get you that number. But we differ on that. Obviously, he doesn't think that it'll have much of an impact with a closure. But we're in the trenches. We're the ones doing the grunt work, and we're the ones that are seeing it.
Thank you. My time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assemblyman Palmisano.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen. I just first wanted to say thank you to you and all your members for what you do to keep us safe in the state. So first, thank you very much. For the purposes of my 3 minutes, I really want to direct my comments to Mr. Powers and NYSCOPBA. The acting commissioner was here earlier, and a lot of questions came up, particularly around the secure vendor program, use of canines. And I was made aware earlier about recent examples of 3 facilities just today getting suspicious packages, 10 getting contraband in the past week. And it also came up about, the concern I have and a lot of our members have is Are you being provided the necessary equipment for your members to be safe, protected while doing their job? Because I know the issue with the fentanyl up north, where 11 individuals went to the hospital, and I keep hearing about these nitrile gloves, and that was brought up, and the commissioner said, yes, they are provided to your members. But I've also heard that while they're provided in restricted areas, are they readily available because you deal with cell searches and pat-downs? Are these gloves readily available throughout for all your members, or are they restricted areas? That was one question I wanted to get to.
They're primarily in the medical departments and some of the, in the package rooms and in the mail rooms. Some of the contraband coming in, the ones that you mentioned earlier regarding the 3 today at 3 correctional facilities had suspicious mail packages coming in that were deemed to be saturated with a chemical. And sometimes we worry about it being fentanyl or some type of Suboxone or synthetic drug of some sort. But yeah, we have asked for them. We continually ask for them. We want all of our staff in the field to have access to that equipment and to other equipment as well. But the nitrile gloves are something that we've been driving home for some time, yes.
Another question I want to get to, I know there's going to be a transfer of youth offenders going to the OCFS. And based on your experience and what you've already encountered, is OCFS readily going to be available to handle this situation without the presence of corrections officers? Or what can they expect moving forward with this change and without corrections officers in these facilities with these youth offenders coming to OCFS?
I can speak from our experiences with the adolescent offender program, but I can't speak for OCFS. I'm not familiar with their procedures or anything of that nature, so I don't want to get into that. But they'll have their hands full.
Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to ask you is just because with the time left, I mean, I and a number of my colleagues want to make sure your members can be safe doing your jobs. If there are 3 things you would say, give us to help us, if you give us these 3 things, that would help us protect us so we can do our job safely and make it a better environment for our members to work in. What would be those 2 or 3 things if there's just saying it out loud here to everybody?
Staffing, without question. We're owed staffing from 2017 that we've yet to receive additional training, equipment, resources to protect our members in the field. You know, a lot of the technology that's coming forward, and obviously to bring down the double bunks and make it a more secure environment for us to be able to operate in.
Thank you again for what you and your members do for us.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'll be
Thank
sure to convey that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Assemblyman Riley?
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you coming and offering some testimony. I had a feeling I was going to hear something different. Regards to the state troopers with the discovery law, is there any way that we can, maybe you can provide me with some information, maybe some literature that went out from the actual organization, from the agency, surrounding training on to the troops that are in the field? Secondly, I wanted to touch on the request for additional troopers for the academy. I'd keep my eye out for this request for the MTA, New York City Transit. I would not want them to relocate troopers just to the transit, because I could see that happening. It's pretty ironic that we're also talking about mergers of different departments when in 1995, some of my colleagues that were in transit and housing in New York City called it a hostile takeover. When the New York City Police Department, which I was a member of, took over housing and transit. They are very delicate situations, and I truly appreciate them. So we want to make sure that we stay on top of that, and thank you for giving the information on that. Additionally, the 35 investigators just to support discovery. New York City Police Department is doing that right now with civilians, and it's costing them a fortune. And I think that's the missing point that I had in my earlier question to the superintendent was, I know there's dollars that are attached to this, and that's what we need to find out. So if you could maybe just share some information about specific training that may have taken place. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We go to Assemblyman Blake.
To President Powers, I just want to, I believe you shared that you are supportive of legislation to research the rise in violence.
Yes, sir.
And equally, when you're saying that there's a need for additional money for training, is there an approximate dollar figure?
I don't, we can get you one.
You have a sense of
It's pretty
even,
outdated, it'd be costly.
understand, you have a sense of what would be the particular type of training that is most needed that's not currently happening?
Well, it's pretty involved, sir. We've seen a lot of changes, there's a lot of mental health issues within, within our correctional setting that need to be addressed. And as I mentioned, I receive 40 hours of annual training a year. And, I've been receiving that since 1989. And, the department's changed and there's much more need within the facilities that we need to be out in front of. And to cram that all into 40 hours, what I've had for 30 years, is not sufficient. We need that training, we need that time, we need those resources to be able to effectively treat and do our jobs sufficiently.
Absolutely. And I want to say I appreciate the conversation around training and can respect and acknowledge the urgency around that. I believe the legislation you're referencing is actually Senator Sepulveda's legislation, so definitely we'll want to work with him on that.
We have seen similar as well. We've seen a significant rise in suicides with our members, and not only that, but just within the correctional settings as well. But obviously more, the more that you can give us to bring this about, to lower that rate or abolish that rate completely is, I don't think you could ask for, until you can eradicate that stigma and get rid of it completely. By all means, we'll accept as much as possible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Sepulveda.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Five seconds. Good evening to all of you. This is a question for Mr. Powers. First of all, I want to thank you for agreeing to meet with us a couple of weeks ago, several weeks ago, and being willing to listen to all sides on the issues involving your members, correctional facilities, and things that we need. I don't know if you heard earlier, I asked questions about the services that should be provided by docs to the members for mental health services, both for them and training so that, for them, so they can deal with people that are incarcerated in a better way. And they told me, the commissioner indicated that in fact there has been some of that, a lot of it, and that it has been successful. And some of my colleagues already asked you some of the questions that I wanted to ask you, but just two quick questions. I don't have a lot of time, but according to docs, previous closures have not resulted in any layoffs, but do require relocation by docs employees. What is the rate of attrition of staff after the closure? Are you aware of it, Mike?
What, the rate of attrition at what?
When you close a facility, can you hear me okay?
Yes. It's a bit of an echo here.
With the current closures of facilities, docs has indicated there have been no layoffs, but they do require relocation of the employees. What is the rate of attrition of staff after closure of these facilities? Are you aware of the numbers?
I would imagine it's a small number. It depends on who's eligible upon, if they were to target a facility and have the facility close, some people may not be down for a relocation. They may have the time to opt out and retire. I can get you those numbers. I'd be happy to get you those numbers. I wouldn't think that it's too many, maybe out of a facility staffed with 300 security, maybe 10. Maybe, just tight. And I'm just throwing that out there.
So it hasn't been a big issue with the membership about relocating once the facilities are closed?
It's a significant issue, without question. When a facility shutters and your family has to get uprooted and moved on, and that's one of the reasons why we came to the legislature years ago to pass that one-year bill, that one-year closure notification bill, to allow the facility closure. They don't announce them anymore. They don't give us what facility's going to close. They don't allow it, and before you know it, 90 days, and bang, your life's turned upside down within a 30-day period. That's not fair. It's not consistent. It's not a way to treat your employee, in my opinion. But with that being said, that's the burden that we have with that. So when a relocation, when a closure happens and staff have to relocate, sometimes it's significant. And depending on, we're a seniority-based operation, so with that being said, it has a huge impact on not just the member and the community, excuse me, but the families, you know, the children in school, and you know, the could be an EMT in the community. You know, there's a huge impact on that, huge.
But has DOCS provided the kind of financial assistance needed by the membership to go to a new location?
Financial assistance? No,
Yes.
no.
So
No,
no level.
what we have is a working relationship. When we do, we try to work with them so that we can adequately find a place for somebody. We work with them to try and soften the blow for the membership. We don't condone it. We don't want to see the closure. We don't feel the closures are necessary. And then when that happens, you know, we work with the department through seniority and through reassignment lists and what's available to help relocate the staff. And if some can't get to a facility of choice by seniority, sometimes they're forced into a layoff.
So let's continue our discussion, see what we can do to alleviate
Absolutely.
the pain that members have to go through, even financial or otherwise. So we can continue our discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblyman Levine?
Free speech, but not easy speech. Couple of things. We've all heard throughout the day a lot of people speaking speeches that are written. You all spoke from the heart, and we heard you, and that's appreciated. And I think the people of the state of New York appreciate knowing that you and your members are there to watch out and protect everybody. So thank you. Thank you all, gentlemen. I just have one quick question for President Powers, and perhaps I misheard. But I think when you were describing some of the dangers inherent in correction work, you used these words: inmate on inmate assaults on officers. Did I hear you correctly?
Well, there are two different categories: inmate on inmate assault and inmate on staff assault.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that clarification.
Yep.
And thanks, gentlemen.
Okay. I think now we're done with you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for staying
Thank
with
you.
us
Thank
tonight. Appreciate it. All right.